I don't like surprises.
And you won't like this one. There is a party crasher against us.
It's a goddamn Green Beret.
Dimitri, what is going on, sir? How are you?
Joe, how you doing?
I'm
Good to
doing
see
great,
you.
man. Look, excellent job on this film. You have such a great eye for action and such a great eye, especially for like the hand-to-hand combat stuff. Gunnar does feature this mix of intense action and a family drama. Can you talk about balancing those elements in the script and in the direction style?
Sure. Listen, part of what we do as directors is we cheat, right? So we turn around and we say, what if we cast some really wonderful actors, and that way they can figure out the rest of it for us. Right. And I think in this particular instance, Luke Hemsworth is a very talented actor, and Morgan Freeman, of course, come on, you can't do better than that. And so I let them bring all the layers to the screen. It was already on the page, but they turned around and they really brought it all to life. And I thought that's the way to do it. And now suddenly you have to make it entertaining. And so as I'm cutting the film, I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can, keep you into it, keep you entertained, but know all the time that you're following the story because you care about the characters.
Dimitri, something that I love about your action stuff too is I feel like everything is really done in camera. Can you talk to me about your approach to like practical and digital effects in this film?
Sure. About the only thing that you'll see digital in the film, there's a few things, but I don't use live guns. I haven't used live guns in years.
Sure.
I think they're dangerous on set, and so I try to stay away from all that. Now, in terms of my stunt team is Thai, and they go all the way back to my reboot of Kickboxer Vengeance, and they've done every film with me since then. And so their Muay Thai is a completely different martial art. You see it many times, but you don't really realize what it is, okay? Right. And so it's very showy, like you just pointed out, and it's very cinematic. And so we do the rehearsals for about a month before we start shooting the film. We edit all those rehearsals, and then we have a previs that I present to the actors. And so the actors know what we're about to do when we do it. Sure. And we refine it from there. But Luke brought skill to this because he was able physically to pull off all of these stunts.
Which is incredible. By the way, I'm Thai, so shout out there. Now I got to ask you about the casting process, because Morgan Freeman and Luke Hemsworth are great, and I love seeing them in scenes together because I feel like there's this element of Morgan just being so cool and calm and trying to be relatable, while Luke kind of has his guard up as we're going along. It's this almost reverse kind of like psychology between the heel and the face, or the villain and the hero. Can you talk about how after they were cast in those roles, how their characters kind of took shape with them being cast in those roles?
Sure. I mean, I think that Luke can't stand who Morgan Freeman's character is. However, he can't help but admire him. If you notice, he's looking at him in such a way that he's admiring him, and he knows that Morgan Freeman's character is working him, right? So he knows he's trying to work him a little bit, and then Morgan Freeman is trying to work him, and he does it in a very casual way. I mean, he's not going to be able to overpower him or anything, so he's trying to see if he can get his guard down, and I think ultimately he pulls that off.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, I do want to talk about the character of Kendrick Riker, because I think it is such a fascinating character. We're not used to seeing Morgan Freeman play like a villain or an antagonist, really. So can you talk to me about what he brought to that role that surprised you with this turn?
Well, I wanted to hire somebody for that particular role that was likable. I don't like it. I don't believe that bad guys. I don't believe that the devil is somebody that you can tell is the devil. I think he's got to be likable. I think he's got to be personable, and I wanted, and again, we just cast God in the film, so how can you get better likable than that?
That is absolutely true. Exactly. You can't. As soon as he appeared on screen, I was already engaged because it's Morgan Freeman, and then to see him cast in a role that I'm not used to seeing him in was really, really fascinating to me. Now, can you talk to me about how involved you were with the designing of the visual aesthetic of the film and the tone of the film, particularly during the confrontation and the fight scenes?
Entirely. I mean, I picked out those locations specifically because I thought that they would be really visual. and really interesting. And so we built some interiors on a stage to match the locations. But I entirely pick all that stuff out. I have to from the very beginning. I'm an independent filmmaker, and so I can't leave anything to chance.
Absolutely, totally. Yeah, you listen. Aren't you a South Bay guy too?
I am a South Bay guy.
Same here. So I'm a South Bay guy, born and raised, baby. Where'd you go? Lawndale? We'll get into that at some point.
Yeah. Do you remember all that? Yeah.
I was reading about it. I was like, oh, you went to Lawndale. I live pretty close to Hawthorne High, so I
played football. I played football for Lawndale. Yeah.
There you go. Now, I do want to talk about Luke because I think he does such an incredible role as Gunner in this film. Can you talk to me about the character and what Luke brought to the role that wasn't on the page?
Well, he brings an awful lot of texture. He plays many different, and you can see that he's chewed up inside, right? He brings an awful lot of guilt and anxiety and love, and at the same time, he's a badass, and so he all that is stirred up in him, and those are all tough things to do with no dialogue. You have to have it in you, and consequently, because of all that, you care. You really care about him.
Absolutely. Also, with Luke, can you talk about his approach to the emotional aspect of Gunner's character, especially the drive to protect his family in this film?
Yeah, we met, we talked about that. We went back and forth on it, and he really wanted to figure out how to project that. And again, he's a trained actor from a wonderful academy in Australia. So that was really easy for him to pull off. Pardon me, let me pull that back a little bit. He was quite capable of pulling it off. I don't know if it was easy for him to pull off or not.
He made it seem seamless, though. I mean, he has just that swagger about him. Now, how do you think Gunner's military background kind of influences his methods and decision-making in this film?
Well, I think like anything you do when you train in any kind of sport, especially something that he's gone back into the service several times. So he's a lifer before he finally came out. And I think it's instinct, is it not? Suddenly, you have to adapt. Anytime something happens, you have to figure out, now what do I do? How do I survive? And you can see that happening scene to scene to scene. And when the door doesn't open, you kick it in. And when he decides to take some decisive action, he does things that you just don't expect.
Absolutely.
And I think that keeps us all in.
Now, last question I have for you is, I think, as I said earlier, is that I think you're such an incredible director and you have such a great eye for action. What did you learn from your experience working on this project that you're going to take with you into your next project?
Well, I mean, again, my biggest enemy in any film, especially as an independent, is time.
Sure.
So I fight just as hard as Luke does to try to get more time. Because with more time, you can do some wonderful things. And so that's really it. I mean, I bring the same team together all the time, my same DP, my same stunt team. I try to carry all of them with me, my editor. And so I'm excited. I've got everything else planned out for 2 other movies coming next year. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, listen, I love the pacing in this film. I love that it reminded me of, I had nostalgia action from when I was growing up. So it had everything, all the elements that I loved in it, Dimitri. Great job. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate it too.
If it hurts my boy, then I'm going to kill you. Kill everyone you know.
It's a lot of killing for one man.